to staff, and they will get it up here to us. You'll have 10 minutes for each side to speak with a 5-minute rebuttal. After your case is heard, please be quiet, or if you feel you want to have a discussion, you need to go outside the building. Don't go out in the foyer out there because it echoes back in. Mr. Randolph, will you do the invocation?
Bestowed in our lives. We thank you for allowing your grace and mercy to be ever present with our families, Lord, wherever we are. We thank you for blessing us this day. We thank you for this commission. Bless us, Lord. Give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be able to discern and make the right decisions for all. We thank you for our communities that we serve. We thank you for our government and all the employees of this parish. In all these blessings, Lord, we ask that you also be with and bless our neighboring Bahamians, Lord, as a result of Hurricane Dorian. Be with them, and Lord, bless them in a mighty way. It's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, in your packets, you had the August 6, 2019 minutes. Hopefully you've had a chance to review them. And if everything seems to be in order, I'll need a motion. Mr. Fitzmars.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Fitzmars to approve. Mr. Lorne.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Lorne. Please vote.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Helen, we have any cases to postpone? No, sir. No cases to postpone. That's terrible. All right, this is a public hearing, and appears you do need to fill out a speaker card so that we have record of you being here, and if we need to contact you, we can. Zoning change request cases, applications for the proposed change of zoning districts or amendments to the land use ordinance requiring review or recommendation of approval by the zoning commission before action by the parish council are as follows. And we'll start off with number 1. 2019-1512-ZC. The existing zoning is A1. The proposed zoning is A1A. It is 7 acres. The petitioner is Connie Dufour. Owner is Connie Dufour. Parcel located on the west side of Booth Road, north of Louisiana Highway 1078, being 78187 Booth Road, Folsom, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with rural, residential, and agricultural uses. Staff feels that there's no compelling reason to recommend approval of the request, considering that the site is surrounded by property zone A1 suburban district, and at this time, staff would like to recommend denial.
Thank you. Is Ms. Dufour here? Ms. Connie Dufour. I don't see Commissioner Baggert.
I'll make a motion to deny then.
Pardon? Okay. Does anyone in the audience have a comment on this before the commission takes action? Seeing none, I'll take Mr. Baird's motion to deny. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Willie? Pardon? Okay. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. Next item is 2016-5-524-ZC, major amendment to a planned unit development overlay. Existing zoning is a planned unit development PUD. It's 157.31 acres. Petitioner Southern Lifestyle Development, Jason Ellis. The owner is Providence Park Development, LLC, Robert Daigle. Parcel located on the east side of Louisiana 1077, south of McGee Road, north of US Highway 190, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request to hear on number 10 on the agenda, 2019-15-62 ZC, which are two related cases, or a related case to this one.
Okay, let me read it into the record also, and then you can make a comment on both of them. 2019-1562-ZC, existing zoning is A4, single-family residential district, A5, two-family residential district, and HC2, highway commercial district. Proposed zoning is A4, single-family residential district, and A5, two-family residential district. It's 5.53 acres. Petitioner Southern Lifestyle Development, Jason Ellis. The owner is Providence Park Development, LLC, Robert Daigle. Parcel located on the east side of Louisiana 1077, south of McGee Road, north of US Highway 190, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
First, I'd like to bring your attention to 2019-15-62, where we have a zoning change request from A4 to A5, A5 to A4, and HC2 to A4 and A5. In the first table here, you can see the acreage that are being requested. And in the next one, you see the difference between the acreage was already approved and the proposed requested acreage to be changed. Also related, this zoning change is to increase or decrease the acreage of the underlying zoning of a previously approved PUD development. And also related is a case 2016-524 ZC, which is the plan unit development where there's a request for a major amendment to the PUD to allow for reconfiguration of the green space, ponds, and the areas to be developed with commercial and residential uses. Mainly, the amendments consist of the removal of the originally proposed estate lots, changes in the number of unit by type, and an increase in the total density of the development of the proposed development. And as you can see, this has been more illustrated in the table on the first page of the staff report. Although there's an increase in density, the new subdivisions still provide a variety of lot size and a choice of housing and large open space, allowing for the preservation of most of the wetlands. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval for the requested zoning change and also for the major amendment to the PUD.
Thank you, Ms. Lambert. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Better? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Doherty, members of the commission. Paul Marone on behalf of the petitioner. If you will recall, this tract was originally zoned as a PUD back in 2009. In 2017, I came before you when my clients had acquired the property and requested a number of changes to that underlying zoning and to the PUD itself. The original approved PUD for this property allowed for 1,280 units. When we came in 2017, that revision accomplished two major changes to the PUD. One, it dropped the density significantly by about 844 units. In addition, the original PUD had multifamily as an approved use, and we removed that use in its entirety as well. After the approval of the PUD in 2017, we moved forward with our preliminary subdivision request. It was at that time that the issue with the fill mitigation became a major focal point and point of discussion in the parish. At that point, I came to you sitting as the Planning Commission and asked that the matter be tabled. That has now been about a year since that has occurred. So we are here tonight not to talk about the fill mitigation or to complain about the interpretation of the fill mitigation ordinance, but rather this is the first step in us revising the existing plan so that we can meet the current interpretation of the fill ordinance. As Ms. Lambert noted, there are a number of relatively small minor changes from A4 to A5 and so forth. Really what is happening here is twofold. One, we had to increase the ponds on the site in order to meet the current fill mitigation analysis by about 10 acres. So we had to take 10 acres that was not in ponds, and we had to put it into ponds. So that was one thing. And in order to do that and try to continue to avoid the wetlands on site, we had to shrink the footprint of the development area down some. We had to contract that site to give rise to the acreage for the additional ponds. So that is what brings us here this evening. We're asking you to allow us to amend the PUD to be able to comply with and comport with the existing fill mitigation ordinance. At the end of the day, most of the components, or almost all of the components of this plan stays the same as it was in 2017. The project still consists of three underlying zonings: HC2, A5, and A4. The HC2, as you'll see in the chart, was reduced by a little over a half acre, so there's less highway commercial property than there was prior. The A5 and A4 were also both reduced very slightly. Our density is still well below what is allowed by those underlying zoning, and is still 822 units less than was originally approved for this site back in 2009. There are still no apartments or multifamily uses. The green space is in excess of 35%, and the amenities that we agreed to provide in 2017 are still provided now. I would also point out, though, that in this revision, we were also able to accomplish the creation of a 40-foot green belt area along McGee Road, which did not exist on the 2017 plan. So all of those components, again, are consistent with what we did in 2017, other than we needed to create the additional room for 10 acres of ponds to comply with the current ordinance. But overall, the plan is the same, and the changes are relatively minor. We would ask for your approval this evening to the amendment to the PUD in accordance with the plan that's before you, that will then allow us to be able to move forward with preliminary and make our submittal based on this plan. In talking with the staff, we had asked about the possibility of going forward with preliminary, since that is kind of the driver here. That's the factor that we're trying to meet. But unfortunately, the ordinances didn't allow that. We had to get our PUD into compliance with what we intend to submit for preliminary in order to be able to do that. So this is the first step in that process. So we would respectfully request your approval of the change to the underlying zoning, as Ms. Lambert noted, also to the PUD overlay, as I've discussed, which will allow us to create the additional 10 acres of ponds, create that green space along McGee Road, and to otherwise bring the plan into compliance with the current interpretation of the ordinances. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Your staff has recommended approval, and we respectfully request that you do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of this? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against? Not seeing anyone wishing to speak against or for, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the, commission. Commissioner Willie.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the increase in pond size. Was that to increase the number of ponds or the actual, the big pond that's on that property?
Well, it's both. The large pond that was originally proposed is larger. We also, if you'll look at the plan, we added 2 additional ponds. One immediately to the east of the large pond, and then another one to the south.
So the initial pond has been increased?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With that said, I move for approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Willie to approve.
Mr. Chairman, which
Yes.
case are you voting on first?
Pardon?
Which case are you voting on first?
We need to do the, 524 is the PUD. The underlying zoning, though, is,
1562?
1562. Mr. Willie, is that the one that you made the motion on, 1562? All right, so what Mr. Willie, on this one, we have to vote for him separately, is on, ordinance 2019-1562 ZC. Okay? All right. Commissioner Lowen? Commissioner Fitzmaurice?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice, and this is on 2019-1562. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. All right, and then the other one is 2016-524 ZC. We had a, motion by Mr. Willie. You need to repeat it?
Move for approval of the major amendment to the PUD.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the map that we've been furnished, it looks like there's a buffer that goes around the northern boundary and the eastern boundary. And 1077 would be the buffer on the western boundary, but I don't see any buffer across the southern boundary.
Yes, that is correct. The buffer along McGee Road, along our northern boundary, or much of our northern boundary, is McGee Road, not the entire boundary, but much of it is McGee Road. And we endeavored to try to create that buffer there, one, because of it being McGee Road, also because there are some drainage concerns with regards to McGee Road. On the south side, I don't believe we've had a buffer. And I'm looking back at my prior plan, but I don't believe that we've had a buffer, and again, we still don't. That is all vacant ground down there. And so as we contracted the site, we weren't able to create an additional buffer along that southern line.
Well, my concern is it may be vacant today, but the rate we're approving subdivisions, it won't be vacant tomorrow.
I would also point out something else I didn't want to mention because I wasn't sure, but it is industrial to our south.
It is industrial?
Yes, it is. It's zoned industrial.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
will you recap once again the number of units that this change is going to give us? I know you said that initially in 2009, and then 2017, we ended up with 1,200 something. How many units are we going to be looking at now?
Now the proposed number is 462.
Okay. So,
And the 2009 number of 1,280 is a difference of 822 units that are still off the board, if you will.
okay, so that's what I'm coming up with. The 822 units are the number of units that we're not going to have in this project.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions by any of the commissioners? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you. Next item is 2019-1529-ZC. Existing zoning is I-1 Industrial District. Proposed zoning is MD3 Medical Facility District. It's 1 acre. Petitioners Rich Marty. Owners Jeffrey and Laura Dina. Owner is Jeffrey and Laura Dina. Parcel located on the north side of Champaign Street, west of Columbia Street, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed as a planned district with a mix of commercial uses at a variety of density. Staff does not have any objection to the requested zoning change, considering that the objective is to bring the existing use into compliance with the appropriate zoning. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Marty, are you in the audience? Good evening.
How we doing?
Please state your name and address.
Rich Marty, my address,
Uh-huh.
in front of everyone,
Yeah?
1131 North Causeway Boulevard, Mandeville.
Good.
Yeah, this, this piece of property, the building that we're talking about is the North Shore Workforce Building, or the past North Shore Workforce Building, which has been nothing short of a nightmare for all of us. And we learned after I sold this to a client of mine that it was built on the wrong piece of property, which is par for that course, obviously, the way that thing is done. So our main concern is to get it back into commerce. Fortunately, the landowner owns the same piece of property right next door. So we're trying to get our best interest and our best chance of putting it into commerce is to go with the medical. We've got some interest with transitional housing or buildings, and that seems to be the most likely end user. It may be my owner as well that might do that. So we just felt like we're transferring and swapping out the property. We needed to swap out and put it and zone it in a zoning that is that can be reasonably developed and put back into commerce. So the building is there. It's not much of a building, if you've seen it, but we think we can get into commerce with the new zoning.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone wish to speak against this proposal? Not seeing anyone? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, move for approval for the MD3 zoning.
Motion by Mr. Willie to approve MD3. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you. All right, next item is 2019-1530-ZC. Existing zoning is PBC2, Planned Business Center. Proposed zoning is AML, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics District. It's 90.3 acres. The petitioner is Jones Fussell, Paul Marone. The petitioner, his owner is Allstate Financial Company, Bruce Weiner. Location partial located on the south and west sides of Oshner, west of Louisiana 21 in Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering that the AML zoning district allow for uses the similar or basically in large size as the existing zoning PBC2, and at this time would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone again, this time on behalf of Allstate Financial Corporation. This 90-acre tract, as Ms. Lambert noted, is currently zoned PBC2, or Planned Business Campus 2. It is located along I-12, kind of southwest of the existing roundabout along Oshner Boulevard between Highway 21 and Highway 1077. The tract is bounded on the south by I-12, on the north by additional properties owned by the Weiner family, on the east by a sewer treatment pond and a retention pond, and on the west by vacant property owned by some absentee landowners. We're requesting the change from PPC2 to the Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics District, and the purpose of that district is to provide large locations for large-scale facilities for uses in the transportation and logistics industries. It also should be located in close proximity to the major transportation corridors and routes. We would respectfully submit to you this evening that this 90-acre tract and our request this evening meets both of those criteria. Now, most of the time, zoning requests do not come with a particular use in mind, and if they do come with a particular use in mind, it is not a central issue that is before the commission. However, this is a somewhat unique request, and there is a specific use in mind, and I think it's only fair that you are advised of what that use is. We are requesting the AML zoning for the sole purpose of accommodating Medline Industries, Inc. and their intended regional distribution facility. So who is Medline? Medline is the largest privately held distributor of medical supplies in the country and perhaps the world. They're a family-owned business. They offer over 550,000 medical products and supplies. They have 20,000 employees. They operate in 24 countries, and they have $12 billion annually in sales. Medline is already a member of the community here in St. Tammany Parish. They have about a 200,000 square foot distribution facility across I-12 and catty-corner to this particular site at the intersection of I-12 and 1077. They've been there for about 10, maybe 12 years. The new distribution facility would serve as a regional hub for them. It would allow them to service all of their customers from Houston to Louisiana to the Gulf Coast and Florida and beyond. So the initial facility would be 800,000 square feet to provide these regional services, with the ability to expand to 1 million square feet at full utilization. The facility would be LEED certified. It would be a state-of-the-art distribution facility to be located here in St. Tammany Parish. Now, how did Medline come to locate this site? And it's important to note that Medline picked this site. Medline conducted a search of 15 different sites within a 50-mile radius of their existing facility. And they reviewed all of those sites, and they chose this site based on several criteria: its location, its proximity to the interstate system, its proximity to the customers, and the quality of life that their current employees and their future employees would have here in St. Tammany Parish. They currently have between 30 and 40 employees here at their existing facility. Now, the site plan that Medline has for this particular location has significant buffers on all sides: east, west, north, and south. Even along the interstate, they are proposing to have at least a 60-foot buffer, which will be heavily treed. There is also an additional 20 feet outside of the property that is in the I-12 right-of-way that is currently heavily treed and forested. That is intended to remain. As you can imagine, with this type of facility, visibility is not an issue for them. They are not a retail facility. It doesn't matter that you see them from the interstate, and they are perfectly happy being behind that green canopy. This particular parcel, from our property line to the closest residential property line is over 500 feet. From the proposed building to that same residential property line is over 1,000 linear feet. So this is a site that is tucked up against the interstate. It is bounded by either ponds, retention, or sewer treatment, or otherwise undeveloped property. It is also not standard or typical that you would hear me talk about traffic in great detail at a zoning meeting. As you know, before this facility can be built, a full traffic impact analysis has to be performed. It has to be approved before a building permit can be pulled. However, I think it's only fair to offer you some information about what type of traffic this facility will generate, because I think those are obvious questions, and I think they deserve answers. So I'll share this with you. Initially, this facility will generate about 50 trucks per day. That is consistent with what is being generated from their existing facility across the highway. If they reach full utilization, which would be in about a 10-year period, then at full utilization, there would be 175 trucks a day. Remember, though, it's important to note, where are these trucks going? These are not trucks that are going into Covington. These are not trucks that are going to Mandeville, into Madisonville, or over to Abita Springs. They're not going to Goodby. These are trucks that are leaving this facility, and they're going to I-12, which is immediately adjacent to it. So they are not going to be utilizing and clogging our collector streets. Two other points that I think are very important. These are off-peak trips. Unlike your typical office or retail center, these trips are off-peak, and they're spread out over three different timelines. There's about 30% of those that will be traveling between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m., about 60% over a 7-hour period between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m., and 10% from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. To put that in context, at 50 trucks, that's 2 trucks per hour over a 24-hour period. At 100 trucks, it's 4 trucks per hour. At 150 trucks, it's 7 trucks per hour over a 24-hour period. How does that traffic compare to PBC2? I opened up by telling you that it's currently zoned PBC2, or Planned Business Campus 2, which allows for high-rise office buildings, commercial, campuses, offices, universities. So one of the things we wanted to know, as the owner of the surrounding property, what is the comparison between that type of use and what is here? Well, I can tell you that a business park would have, of 90 acres, would have 1,828 trips at AM peak and 1,514 trips at PM peak. That compares to 450 trips at Medline at AM and 350 trips at PM. The PBC2 will generate 4 to 5 times the amount of traffic that this facility will generate. And I think that's important to note. This is a unique opportunity for real economic development that does not come along often. This facility is going to be built in this region. And I believe that it would be a mistake and terribly unfortunate for St. Tammany Parish not to realize the benefits that come from a facility like that. And what kind of benefits? Well, 50 jobs initially, 200 jobs within 3 years, 500 jobs at full utilization. Warehouse starting salaries in the mid-30s with full benefits. Truck drivers starting in the mid-40s with full benefits. Not to mention upper management. At 200 employees, Medline will have a $6 million annual payroll. That $6 million will reverberate throughout St. Tammany Parish. To buy the land and build this facility, it's $50 million. The sales tax alone on that is over $2 million. The impact fees on this project is $1,256,000. The permit fees would run in excess of $250,000. So this is a unique and, in my view, excellent opportunity for St. Tammany Parish. We have an opportunity to keep a great business partner that is here now and allow them to really dig their roots and to anchor here in St. Tammany Parish. Medline has chosen this site through their extensive search. They chose this site. They believe this site is consistent with what they need to be successful and to service their customers and to service their employees, to allow them the quality of life that they will have being employees with Medline. Your staff has recommended approval to the AML district, and we would respectfully request you do the same. And I thank you for your time this evening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. We have a card from Brian and Julie Dare that would like to speak in favor. You do not wish to speak? All right. Since we have no one, do you wish to speak for? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm fixing to get into those that are against. Okay. Stephen Talbot.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Please state your name.
Oh,
Excuse
ready?
me.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am a new, why is this bell continuing to go off?
Let me get this clock.
I am a new resident in this parish and truly admire the way the parish has been zoned and the residential, commercial, and industrial areas have been separated, have adequate buffers. My concerns are the traffic, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We mentioned the border areas, 500 feet between a warehouse facility and a residential area. That's not very big. Now, I think all of you know that the traffic on I-12 at that location in the morning and in the afternoon is horrendous. This is just going to complicate that matter much more. Basically, I am just against it because of the quality of the structures and the development of that area are not conducive with a warehousing facility with multiple trucks, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I would like to see them be able to locate in the parish. We need the jobs, we could use the jobs, but I think they just need to go find a better location than where they are. It's because if any, I would ask every one of you to ride out there and take a look at the subdivisions and the light commercial development that is occurring there. It's just totally not compatible with what they want to do. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card I have is Robert Bennett.
Good evening,
State
Robert
yours.
Bennett.
Okay.
The first thing I wanted to ask about, which Mr. Marone talked about, was the traffic impact study. Traffic in that area is really, really bad. I-12 is seeking special dollars to widen it because of the problems with traffic and accidents. As it is now, 1077, which is one of the access points this place will be using, traffic backs up off of 1077 onto I-12, onto the shoulder, 3 or 4 times a week. There's cars on the shoulder trying to get off that exit now with Hannon High School in progress and all of the subdivisions that are going on down there. You're building a new subdivision at 190 and 1077. Earlier this evening, they talked about building another subdivision at 1077 north of 190. the traffic in there, it just can't handle it. I won't pronounce this correctly. Coteau Park has a major expansion. Okay, so you're gonna have more and more people going there every day, bringing their children for soccer games, baseball games. All this traffic on a road that was built, when, 20 years ago? The infrastructure in that area cannot handle a 1 million square foot, 24-hour-a-day building that they want in place. Access to 1077 and 21. How many trucks are coming down 190? Coming down 190, getting on at 12, anytime after 4:30 in the afternoon, is 30 minutes from Judge Tanner to 12. You're gonna put more trucks in there, trying to get there? You're gonna make that I-12 corridor between 190 and 1077 a living nightmare. And I think that's it. It's basically the traffic. The traffic in that area is just, the infrastructure in that area is behind what's being built in that area now. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card I have is Nancy Wagner. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Wagner. I live at 33 Hyacinth Drive in Covington. I'm the president of the Flower Estates Civic Association. I am here to ask this commission to order a community meeting, a public hearing that is open to the entire concerned community regarding this rezoning request. I and other residents were alerted to this request only last week by a neighbor's post on Nextdoor, which is an online neighborhood site. I called Marty Dean. I told him and Paul Marone that if they would postpone this request until the October Zoning Commission meeting, I would arrange an AOA-style meeting with representatives from all of the affected neighborhoods. The response from Mr. Marone was they were only willing to meet with a few people, that those people could only be from Flower Estates, and that the meeting had to be before this evening's hearing. So last Thursday afternoon, 4 Flowers board members met with Mr. Wayner and the other Mr. Wayner and his attorney. Mr. Wayner told us several things last Thursday that all appear to be inaccurate. First, Mr. Wayner said that the Medline is only interested in the 90 acres if they can run all their trucks to the 1077 entrance to the I-12. Second, Mr. Wayner said that the parish administration reported that the connector road tie-in to 1077 had been approved. He also said there would be a roundabout at the tie-in, so no trucks would have to go to the roundabout at Hannon High. Third, when we explained that many residents were very upset with this proposed rezoning and the lack of communication from the petitioner, Mr. Wayner said they had met with a Dr. Green representing Shady Lakes, and they had no opposition to the proposed rezoning. We found this very hard to believe, as many Shady Lakes homeowners, many of who are here tonight, had been voicing their objections both on Nextdoor and to Councilman Dean. Friday, we checked with both Dr. Green and the State Department of Transportation. As to Mr. Wayner's first claim, that only a 1077 entrance would be used, Dr. Green indicated in his separate and earlier meeting with Mr. Wayner, he had been told that westbound traffic would use the 1077 entrance, but eastbound traffic to the I-12 would use Auctioner Boulevard and Highway 21 to access the I-12. As to Mr. Wayner's second claim that the tie-in had been approved, 2 residents were told by DOTD this week that it has not yet been approved. I have the email from DOT with me. Our board member was also told that no roundabout is possible at the 1077 tie-in site because of the location of the traffic signals on the on-ramps. Parish engineering confirmed this afternoon that the parish does not have plans to widen 1077 from the I-12 to the Hannon roundabout. As to Mr. Wayner's third claim that Dr. Green represented Shady Lakes and there was no opposition from that subdivision, Dr. Green said he requested the meeting as an individual to get the facts, and neither indicated opposition or support of himself. And he is here tonight to speak in opposition, and I hope I finish and he has time. Okay, every one of these important points, Mr. Wayner has been contradicted. In a discussion Friday with Pat Brister, I spoke of what I consider the planning staff's inadequate analysis. Ms. Brister recommended that I ask this commission for a public hearing, which is also known as a community meeting, and said she could not recall any time in a matter such as this that the commission has not agreed to have such a hearing. Mr. Wayner has told us it was Medline who was driving this timeline. This family-owned company, these people all live in Illinois in their multi-acre mansions. We should not have strangers pushing our timeline. It's those of us who live here who have to live with the effects forever. I'm now asking you to postpone this, set up a meeting where we can have everybody in the same room at the same time, the developers, Medline, all the community people who are interested. And I would like to ask everyone in the audience who supports this request to stand.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I have left Dr. Green a minute and 44. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have one more card from Ryan Green. Are you Ryan Green?
Yes, sir. I'm Dr. Ryan Green.
Okay, you got a minute and 35 seconds.
Piece of cake. So I do live in the Shady Lake Estates subdivision on 14488 Lake Tahoe Drive. I did meet with the Wayner Group about their plans, about the 90 acres that are in question here this evening. This rezoning request that they have put in has largely flown under the radar. We have gone around to neighbors, community members. Nobody knows what is going on unless a meeting is called with these developers. The St. Tammany Comprehensive Rezoning Plan took 2 years of public input, if I recall. This rezoning has taken in no public input. There's too much at stake here to allow the public not to weigh in. We have flooding. Certainly we've talked about traffic, and clearly the state is not on board yet with the plan for this road. And there's also environmental concerns. But most of all, there would be a drastic impact on the quality of life of your neighbors in St. Tammany. The public deserves the opportunity to give their input. Money doesn't matter here, people matter. Therefore, I oppose, and we oppose, the rezoning of the 90 acres in question. We request public meetings, as has been said by Ms. Wagner, so the community may have a voice in this matter. In addition to all the signatures that I have acquired, we have acquired on petition against this rezoning and for the community meetings, I again would also ask those in attendance to stand if they oppose this rezoning and would like community meetings. As you can see, commissioners, the people are here supporting this movement, and I ask you to consider it.
Thank you. All right, that's all the cards I have. That's all the cards that I have. We'll go to rebuttal, and each side will have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of points in rebuttal. There is a process set out in your ordinances that establishes public hearings for public input. This is one of those ordinance-required meetings. So to suggest that the parish or the residents have not had a chance or will not have a chance for input or to weigh in, that's exactly what these meetings are for. This meeting, and we know that regardless of the recommendation by this committee, I feel certain that there's going to be an appeal to the council where there will be yet another public hearing. So I would respectfully submit to you that you have a process for rezoning that establishes public hearings for public input, and you're following that, and I urge you to follow that. Yes, we met with Dr. Green, we met with the residents from Flowers Estates, and yes, we gave them the information that I'm giving to you this evening. The facts are out there. The facts are out there. People can not like the facts or can like the facts, but the facts are out there, okay? I would submit to you that there is nothing to be gleaned from a public, for a community meeting that's not going to be gleaned tonight or at the council meeting when they convene and hear the appeal of this case. So I would urge you not to delay. We are in the process now. Let that process continue. I believe the facts are out there. I believe you have enough facts to make a decision. Maybe you decide against my client, maybe you decide for my client, but I ask you to consider those facts, those that I've put forth, those that the residents have put forth, and then make a decision. And then we will take the case on to the council from there, and we'll do the same thing in another public hearing section. On traffic, the existing issues that are at 1077 where people are backing up are at peak. Remember, our trips are not at peak. The Oshner Road extension, what we are told by the administration, and which we told Flowers Estates, I'm going to reiterate it again tonight. This is what we have been told, that extension road has been funded, that the right-of-way has been acquired, and that it has been approved for the connection at 1077. All I can tell you is that's what we've been told. If they're being told something different, I understand their concern, but that is what we have been told. The 2020 budget passed by the council has that road in it. That's what we understand. So we understand that that road will be built so that the traffic can be dispersed to 21 and to 1077. With regards to only using Highway 1077, I was very clear to Ms. Wagner, and I even stopped the meeting at one point and said, look, I want to be clear, we're not guaranteeing that the trucks are all going to 1077 or all going to Highway 21. There will be the ability for them to disperse. So at the end of the day, again, if you look at the traffic that is generated by this use, although it be a large use, it pales in comparison to the trip counts that are generated by the existing zoning for this site. I understand the square footage of the facility can be shocking. I understand that. I can appreciate that. But I can also appreciate the fact that 4 to 5 times the amount of traffic would be generated from a PBC2 development on this 90 acres. And so I don't believe that you can look at this in a vacuum. You have to take into consideration that fact. Also, you've got to take into consideration where these vehicles are traveling to. One place, that's the interstate. They're going to the interstate. If you're not going to put this facility along the interstate, if we were to do what was done in Tangipahoa Parish and put it up north of Highway 190 where you had these trucks had to fight their way up to and back from through the collector streets, that's a different situation. This is not that situation. This is not that situation. So I would respectfully request your approval this evening. Again, I'm happy to answer questions that you might have. We have tried to lay the facts out for you. I believe the facts are out there. I believe that we've given you the information where you can make an informed decision. I hope you'll make a decision in favor of my client, but I think you've got the facts to make a decision one way or the other, and we respectfully request your approval of the zoning change as requested in our petition. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. All right, we have the rebuttal, and those that would like to speak in rebuttal, Mr. Green.
Thank you again. A couple of things I want to point out. The facts may be out there, but the facts are inconsistent depending who you talk to. Even within the same group, the facts are inconsistent, which I think doesn't paint a real clear picture to you all as commissioners. I know that in my line of work in science, I want to get all the facts and make sure that they're right, okay? But I think that we need to all work together to get those facts. And I just don't think that they're there right now and how a good, sound decision can be made. Second thing, I spoke to DOTD. Again, it's not approved. There may be funding, there may be right-of-way, which is still in dispute. There may be those plans that seem to be to concrete that plan. There's no plan on the book for a roundabout. and there's no plan on the book right now for any sort of help with the connector 1077 connector road to that area, which again, if you're at Hennon High School or anywhere on 1077, it's incredibly busy many times a day, particularly peak. And then finally, the plans, right? I don't know, I've had to walk around and talk to the residents in many, many neighborhoods and let them know what I found out from a private meeting called with the developer. Nobody has seen these plans. So again, I go back to my original statement that this has flown under the radar and nobody knows about it, and we deserve an opportunity to see the plans that Medline has, talk to them, see what they plan to do for our community, see if it fits with the DNA of St. Tammany. Mr. Moreau talked about Medline digging into the community. We're dug in. Our roots are here. That's why you have so many people here tonight.
Please hold your applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Wagner.
Thank you. Mr. Marone did make a point in the meeting of saying, oh, we're not saying all the trucks would be going only one direction. But that is a very different statement from saying all westbound will go one way and all eastbound will go the other way, and that was not clarified. This petitioner is asking you to drastically change the nature of these 90 acres instead of a planned campus. And there was a part, if you look at your staff analysis report, there's 2 paragraphs in there that describe the green space and what a planned business campus is supposed to look like. Also, these types of businesses generate a lot more higher paying jobs than driving a truck or working in a warehouse, which are fine jobs. But when you're talking about money generated, you want to see what else you can be able to produce. And as I said before, the families that own this company, Medline, and they make wonderful products for hospitals, but they live in Northern Illinois. They don't live down here. They're not going to have, and everybody said the word trucks. That's almost a euphemism. 18-wheelers. I went over in the parking lot at Medline and looked at the trucks they have lined up there. Those are 18-wheelers. Every 2 hours, these people would get back to sleep in that connector road. There'd be another truck and another truck. Who wants to live like that? I want to end by saying, we began this meeting tonight with Commissioner Randolph's invocation. He prayed for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make the right decisions. I would like to offer the following prayer. Creator, Word, and Spirit, we pray that when our care for your creation is found wanting, reform and strengthen us in our conviction to begin our stewardship anew, that our footprints may be more gentle and restorative on this, our earthly home that all species share. Amen. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Robert Bennett? Are you Mr. Robert Bennett?
I had a card turned in that I wanted to speak, and I wasn't recognized. My name is...
Okay, let me get Mr. Bennett up here, and then I will give you an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bennett.
Since this committee is trying to decide what's the best interest for St. Tammany Parish, why can't it wait until the traffic impact study is done so you'll see what it will do to that area? And one thing I did not mention earlier is that in the morning, and I know it's a peak traffic hour, but on 1085, people are backed up over 12 trying to get to 1077 and up to 12 to get on the interstate in the morning. So I ask that you please wait until you get the traffic impact study before you vote on this matter.
Thank you. The other gentleman that came up said he would like to speak. I need you to state your name and address and get one of the, you said you filled out a speaker card?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay, state your name and address, please.
My name is Alvin H. Davis, better known as Al Davis. I live in Cornish-Delac subdivision, which is almost adjacent to the property in question. For 46 years, I was a member of the industrial team at Ladder and Blum and was senior vice president in charge of the industrial division. apples and oranges are one thing. Residential and industrial is another. I have brought industrial people from all over the world into the greater New Orleans area. 2 years ago, I decided to leave the decaying New Orleans and come to this gorgeous community of Covington. I could smell fresh air, see the birds, and have neighbors that would talk to me, and I could walk the street. I don't want to see industrial coming back into my neighborhood. It's a disaster. If you look at New Orleans, especially Elmwood Industrial Park, 33% of that I helped develop in my 46 years in doing that business. Industrial and residential do not mix. I don't care what they promise you. The promises do not have any punishment if it doesn't go through.
You're gonna have
If you
to
look
hold
at
your
the-
applause
I
and
beg your pardon?
comments so that we can hear the speaker. Please do that. Show the speaker the courtesy. Yes, sir, go ahead.
If you look at in Elmwood Industrial Park, you will see that the boundaries of the park are all on public roads or the Mississippi River or the Illinois Central Railroad tracks. There's never, ever, and that's the largest, that's over 1,200,000 square feet of industrial sites. And there is no residential near it. It doesn't work. The trucks, yes, they gave us a guarantee, gave us a quote on the number of trucks that were going to be coming in there, 50 trucks to 175.
I'm gonna ask you to kind of wrap up now.
Is that etched in stone? No. What kind of trucks? Diesels that stink? 18-wheelers that make noise? Ask the people in Robert when they were delighted when Walmart went in and what happened when they found out that Walmart was operating 24 hours a day and there was nothing but noise. This is something that really, there's no guarantee. This 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. guideline is BS. I'm sorry. It's not going to work because they're not going to go by that if there's some demand for their supplies. If you approve this, you will be sorry in 5 to 10 years. And it's too late then because you've already created this monster.
Thank you. Mr. Malone, I'm gonna give you extra time. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just briefly to the gentleman's comments. This site is nowhere near Maison du Lac. The property, the closest property is, it's about 2,000, it's about 2,000 linear feet from this property line to the closest point in Maison du Lac. So to suggest to you that this site is next door to Maison du Lac, that you're putting this site next to that subdivision, that's bull.
Thank you. All right. We've had both sides speak, for and against. We had rebuttal, and I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Tasting, okay. I understand your very much concerns, and so I have made no decision. I'm telling you that right now. There is no decision until I make a few statements. I know that area, and I know there's traffic just during the regular work days. It only cuts back a little bit on the weekends, but it's still a very busy corridor. And so I started thinking about why put a 1 million square foot warehouse that close to traffic? And then something else came to my mind. And I don't know if this is proper for me as a commissioner to do this, but we have a 161 acre area at 1088. There's nothing there. The ground is all the infrastructure is there. It goes immediately to I-12. It bothers nobody. There's no subdivisions. There's no housing divisions. And why can't, and I might be overstepping my bounds, but I think that instead of trying to fit something into a very small spot with restrictions around it, and you have this very large spot with 161 acres that's usable, I would recommend, that site be looked at, because you can accomplish the same thing and even increase the size of your business and not make it disruptive to the surrounding area and the people that live there. That's my statement.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, this is a very, very sensitive matter, a very, very interesting, but yet important issue, not just to the developer, but also to the residents. Just one thing I want to point out, which is very, very difficult to discern, is that this meeting, and this is more so to the residents because you're not very familiar with this as I have become, because I sat on this commission for about 3 or 4 months before I can realize how it worked. This commission tonight is basically to address zoning issues. Zoning issues meaning land use. Land use outside of lighting, traffic, drainage is basically land use. And as I can appreciate it, and as you can too, I'm more than certain that what is being brought before us is the change in the zoning. Those things that you all were talking about is very important, and those things can be discussed in a different venue, a different meeting, which will be the planning at that point in time. However, tonight, what we're looking at is one zoning that can be just as dense, just as busy, just as compact as the zoning that the developer is asking for. Now, I have to be honest with you. As my fellow commissioner stated, the things that you all are bringing up is very important. Very, very important. However, what we're looking at and what we have to look at is the zoning, the land use for this property is proper or not. Does it fit within the parameters of the St. Tammany Parish zoning ordinance? And I just wanted to take out the time to make that clear, because a lot of times it's very, very hard, and I reiterate, it's very difficult to separate those things that are very, very sensitive to us, that could really, really damage our way of living, our property, our value of our property, from the actual land use. So with that in mind, I would like to find out from Mr. Marone, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Let me preface what I'm about to ask you with this. we have a very, very compassionate group of people that are very, very concerned and sensitive about their living area, their life area. They've addressed some issues or some concerns, not issues, but concerns that they have not been necessarily privy to the actual, I guess, understanding of what's going to be developed on the property. And I'm thinking, and I may be naive, that if they had the opportunity to discuss this at a group public hearing and you guys explain everything to them and provide them with some assurances, if not assurances, but some commitment so that there can be some negotiations between what you can do and what you can't within the guidelines of the ordinance, that they would be more amiable with what you're trying to offer. Okay. I was wrong. But my question was, would you and your client be open to have an open dialogue with the homeowners?
Well, Mr. Randolph, I mean, I think you heard the residents just now. Am I open to an open dialogue? Yes, I'm happy to have an open dialogue. We met with Dr. Green, we met with the members from Flowers Estates, trying to get information out there. If a decision is made this evening, again, we'll have a council meeting. And between now and that council meeting, am I open to dialogue? I am open to dialogue. I just don't believe that it is going to be beneficial to have this matter delayed. I think you've heard the residents say they would like a decision. We would like a decision. That decision doesn't have to come with no future dialogue, though, because we are willing to have dialogue. And we are willing to talk about some of the issues that are concerning to the residents. But I think at least on this issue, it sounds like you have most everybody in agreement that it is probably better for a decision to be made this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lauren.
Thank you, Dave. Like many things, we've got a case here where there's some positives and some negatives. I'm pro-development in the standpoint that I would like to think that there are more jobs available in our region, in our area. This would be a type of development that would bring jobs to our area. On the negative side, those developments should not be at the sacrifice of the people that are already here. I look back in memory, we had a case very similar to this just a few months ago where the two sides were just about as far apart as they are tonight. It was down in Slidell, and it had to do with a little church down there that wanted to do something. And the two sides were diametrically opposed. And it was suggested that we have a community meeting here in this chamber where you're not bound by the 10 minutes for each side and the 5 minutes for rebuttal, so that the developer could come in and explain his case to everybody that wanted to come. And I think you see there are plenty of people that want to come. And when we got through, when we postponed that meeting, we postponed the decision by 1 month, and when we came back the following month after that meeting, the two sides had reconciled their differences, and it was very there was no argument. There was no debate. There was no friction. With that in mind, Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend that we have a community meeting for this issue.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lauren. Let me take that under consideration. I've got one more person that would like to speak. Are you finished at this time? Commissioner Drum.
Me again. I have to preface what I have to give you a little bit of my history. I was raised as a military brat. I spent most of my life in the military. Everything is orders, or you do it, or you take the information you have and you make a decision based on that. And my wife gets upset with me because I'll answer her before the question's even asked. And I took an oath to do the best for my country, to defend it, and I did the same thing when I took the oath for here. I said that I would help the people as much as possible, and I would consider them as my priority. So I make a motion that we deny this motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drum to deny. We have a request by Commissioner Lauren for a community meeting. Commissioner Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank Mr. Marone for providing us with some counts and some numbers and some facts, or at least estimated facts. As Dr. Green was pointing out, I like to deal with facts also. And one of the problems I see here is there's only one way in and one way out at the present time, the Highway 21 corridor. One of the facts that we're missing that would help a great deal is if we had some concrete information about another artery coming in, anything that's been approved and so on. And I don't see that. We don't have any concrete information on that. So we are missing something that could help us in a decision up here. So I just wanted to state that I've heard everybody in the audience. I think we all have here. I think we share a lot of your concerns. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unlike some, I heard loud and clear that the audience was interested in a community meeting. It wasn't that they weren't. So I'm going to second Commissioner Lauren's motion to have a community meeting and postpone this for 1 month.
Okay. Ms. Lambert, do we have a date that we can hold a community meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it would have to be September 17th at 6 p.m. here in this chamber. 6 p.m. September 17th.
17th. Is that right, Helen? September 17th?
Correct.
At
1-7.
6 p.m. in this chamber. All right, Commissioner Lauren. Okay. You make a motion to,
The meeting on September the 17th at 6 p.m., if that's agreeable. Is that compatible, Paul? Okay. And is that compatible with you all?
come to the mic, please.
Sorry, that doesn't seem consistent with the putting off a month. Can we push it to your October opportunity, maybe?
This is the next available date for this chamber. Am I right, Helen?
I'm waiting to confirm this.
David,
What would be the process after that meeting, just so the public is aware?
That's what I was trying to get to.
Hold on just a minute, we've got to double check the calendar. Apparently, there may be a conflict.
Let me explain what happens that's different. In this meeting, when we started out tonight, the chairman explained that for each case that's on this agenda, and you can see, we've got another 15 cases or so to go when we get through with this one. There's a 10-minute for the proponent to get up and present their case, and 10 minutes for the other side to get up and present their case, and then 5 minutes for rebuttal for both sides. So you're talking about 30 minutes of he said, she said, what back and forth. The difference is in a community meeting, there's one thing on the agenda, and this would be this case. And the normal process is the developer would get up and would explain as much information as they have in as much detail as they have and answer questions. And both sides can say, well, what if you could do, would you do this? Would you? We can't do that up here. We can't suggest you turn the building around the other way, but you all can do that in a community meeting. The other thing would be that there would be 2 or 3 of the commissioners normally in attendance to quote act as kind of referees, if you want to look at it, to make sure that we keep order and we keep things on track. Okay? You understand the difference now, but no votes taken. It's just an opportunity for both sides to gain more information.
Mr. Chairman, I think the other thing too, I've been made aware of, there was a lot of people tonight that were turned away. So if there's an opportunity to have a larger setting for people, I mean, obviously this room has a fire code and has a capacity. So it may be something else for the commission to think about as well.
Well, I think this is the largest facility that we, the council, have available.
What about a local auditorium, Hannon High School?
Possibly.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Helen, Don came up with 4 dates, one being the 12th of September and the 26th of September. Would both of those work for you?
I think we may have to go to the 26th to give additional time.
For advertising?
No, we don't need to advertise per se. I mean, if it's the wish of the commission to go on the 12th, planning commission is on the 10th, it's fine with me.
All right, let me get feelings of the commission, which date that y'all would prefer, because we'll have 4 or 5 commissioners that would be at this meeting. Pug, since you made the motion, does the 12th or 26th suit you better? 17th is already taken. I'm sorry?
But
17th.
normally it's the third Tuesday of the month that is available, but if I'm not mistaken, because of elections, border review, it's already been
26th?
taken.
26th is better for you?
That'll work for me.
Pardon?
That'll work for me.
Okay. Who seconded, Commissioner Crawford, let me give you an opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that certainly wouldn't try to rush it. I think the longer, if we're going to postpone, I think the longer time that everyone has to get information together, get some facts together. The purpose would be to try to meet in the middle someplace, or at least exchange information that satisfies either side. And I think the more time you have for that, the better. That's just a comment. Again, 30 days seems to be a reasonable time. A week or 2 weeks seems to be kind of short from my standpoint.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice,
I just wanted to make, I could attend on the 26th, so
okay?
you have Pug and I so far, I guess.
Okay, so that's good. We've got two commissioners that can go on the 26th. Are there any other commissioners that would like to attend? Crawford? Crawford and who else?
You have three of us.
Okay. All right,
So
so we're gonna.
May I
go
have the
with
name, sir?
September the 26th at 6 p.m. And right now, it's gonna have to be here, unless we can find a school.
Well, maybe we can ask legal counsel to inform us as to the procedure if we need to move to another venue.
Yeah, unless you have a venue lined up right now and have permission from the administration to have the meeting there, I think it's probably best that the meeting be held here. If the members of the community want to arrange their own meeting at another place, they certainly can, but that official meeting is normally held in these chambers.
Okay. Do y'all understand that? We've got certain legalities we've got to follow, okay? And we've got to go ahead and call it here. Now, that's not saying that y'all can't find a venue, have a meeting. I'll ask Mr. Morone and his group to attend. Is that all right, Paul?
Respectfully, I don't see the purpose of having two meetings. I mean, you
No,
have a community meeting that is going to be here on the 26th, and we will be here, and
Well-
we will attend that.
Right, okay, all right. And I understand what y'all are saying about, the size of the chambers and everything, but by the same token, this is really, I'm getting it from legal counsel, or the way I'm reading her, is that this is our public venue right here in this chamber, and we need to utilize that. Okay? So we'll go right now, September the 26th, 6 p.m., here at the council chambers.
Which commissioner will attend?
Pardon, Helen?
The commissioners who will attend?
Lauren? Crawford and who else? Fitzmaurice, okay. All right.
May I ask a question?
Yes?
I was just going to inquire of legal counsel what the notice deadlines were. If it's going to have to be published anyway, and if we're going to be able to find some other venue that could accommodate more people, if, for example, you only have a 2-week notice deadline to put it in the paper, then if we were to find someplace else.
This does not have to be advertised.
Okay, it's not a public notice. It's a different legal question then?
This is a community meeting is an informal meeting, and there's no advertising requirements. But this body is not able to schedule a meeting anywhere other than their official meeting place.
But it's not an official meeting, so if it's not an official meeting, why would it have to be in the official meeting place?
It's still an action of this body, and we don't have any ability to schedule or get any other notice out. Your notice is this meeting right now. Because we don't have a public notice requirement for these meetings, should you decide to hold it somewhere else, how would we notify everyone? We don't have a mechanism to
But that's
notify
exactly
them.
what you're saying, is that there's no notice required. If there's no notice required, then I don't see why notice has to be given today. But I defer to your expertise in this matter. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, last one.
I'm used to that, my name's starting with a W. First, I want to thank everyone for the extra time. I will undertake, after the meeting that takes place on the 26th, I will undertake, if there's a sense that the community needs to get together and discuss at a larger place in an informal way, I will undertake to arrange an additional meeting so that people have a chance to discuss what we learned at the 26th meeting. I had offered to set up this community-style meeting before, if we would postpone this, and my offer stands. And yes, I may have a position, but I'm capable of calmly moderating any meeting, additional meeting that we might want to have to discuss among the residents after the 26th meeting. Just wanted to let people know
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lauren, you had,
I just wanted to make sure that
go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to get, okay. I just wanted to make sure that there was some way to keep the people that filled out a speaker's card anyhow.
We've got them all right here.
If we could just get the word to them to confirm when the meeting's gonna be. If there's any change from the September the 26th meeting, 6 o'clock right here,
Right,
okay?
okay.
Thank you.
All right, we still have to take action on 2019-1530-ZC. I would think that we need a motion to postpone till our next meeting. Mr. Baggert? Okay, we do have already a motion and a second on the floor. Commissioner Baggert, you wanted to speak?
The only thing I wanted to point out is not everybody in this room is here for this item. So there'll be a lot of extra room because of the other people won't be here. It'll be only on that one item.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
And I would also say, as you did this evening, I would encourage you to have certain speakers, representatives, instead of trying to have 15, 20, 30 people speak. I think y'all did a great job of that tonight. So I would encourage that for the community meeting. I think it'll be beneficial to Mr. Weiner and Paul as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to postpone till our next meeting in October. Correct? Please vote.
Seven yeas, 3 nays, 1 absent.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, next item. Item 5, 2019-1534-ZC. Yeah.
I'm talking about the negative side. Vote just now? Yeah. 2 nays.
No, there's 3 nays.
Baggert and Trump. Baggert and Trump. And then somebody
I
didn't
didn't
vote.
catch it.
Everybody.
Yeah, Carolyn,
7 to 3.
1 absent.
The vote came up 7 to 3. Yes. Who were the 3?
Yeah, it was 7 to 3.
Somebody was out. I don't know who it was.
Oh, he can't. Seeger didn't vote. Oh, his vote registers as a no.
Don, we ready? Okay, good, thank you. All right, next item is item 5, 2019-1534-ZC, A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning is A3 Suburban District and Manufactured Housing Overlay. It's .2349 acres. Petitioner's Harold Burfick. Owner is Harold Burfick. Parcel located on the north side of Shady Lane, east of Carroll Road, Slidell, Ward 9, District 14. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designate the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Mr. Burfick. Ms. Burfick, yes, come forward, state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon to the commissioner. Yeah, my name is Harold Burfick. I own a property that just was mentioned on Carroll Road in Shady Lane. And I'm here for the purpose of the overlay for one mobile home that's gonna be placed, that is already placed there, which there was 2 before there. This one was there, that were destroyed by Katrina. And removed the debris just back in July and cleaned up the whole property there. So really, I don't know what's the objection to what brought it to this level, because when I bought the property, it was zoned to just what I'm doing with that one trailer. I've heard conversation that there's gonna be a trailer park. It's not even big enough to be a trailer park, because I'm sorry for someone even thinks it can be a trailer park. I didn't know anything about a trailer park. The distance between each trailer, that's not enough property. But nevertheless, this is a sketch of the property that I own, which is .2349 of an acre, which is about a quarter of an acre. And so I asked simply, I just moved the debris in July, so it still, to me, would be under grandfather. That would be for the overlay to be approved for one trailer.
Okay.
And
Thank
matter of
you.
fact, there is a brick building that was a business there over the years that I plan on somewhere down the line bringing it back into commerce. And I made that clear to one of the enforcement, zoning enforcement, code enforcement, matter of fact.
Okay.
But for this particular trailer that's there, and I just spent $3,000 putting in a new sewer system, so, where this other stuff come from, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone additionally that wants to speak for? All right, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Mr. Harold, may I have you up here, please? I'm just trying to get this in my head. My head is befuddled right now with a lot of stuff. This is, yeah, it's always like that. There's a school not too far from where your property is that correct? And it used to be like a chicken cage or something right there?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, I know this property. I've driven past it numerous times. You've cleaned it up very nicely.
That's correct.
And I make a motion that you get what you need.
Thank you very much.
A second to that zoning change with the overlay.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Burbidge, there's, in the overhead that we've got, it looks like it would be on the, I want to say the side furthest from Shady Lane or Shady, yeah, Shady Lane. Is that the, where'd you go, Mr. Burfict? I have that same problem.
Pardon me, sir?
On this overhead or the aerial that we have in our packet, on the area that's furthest away from Shady Lane and closest to Carroll Road, there looks to be a building. Is that the building that you cleared out in July?
Where this would be Shady Lane, the existing one used to be here.
Has this building
Yeah,
been removed?
right, that's,
This building's been removed?
right, that's correct. That building would be sitting right here.
Okay, so you've cleared that building out and it.
No,
It's going to be
it's
cleared
still
out.
existing.
Pardon?
It's still there.
Okay,
The two mobile homes that were sitting on Shady Lane was destroyed. This is on Carroll Road, on Old 190.
okay. What's gonna happen with that building back there? Is that part of the overlay, part of your property?
No, sir. This part, which is, I had a survey done by Burke Surveyor to survey only this portion from here, from the property line, of the existing property to the property line where the building at to 190.
Okay, so it looks like you have, some folks by the name of Smooth and Parker own a small portion.
Who?
Rosalie DeFlanders Smooth.
No, I own this whole, what's the name?
Helen, would you show him what we're looking at here on this?
Yeah, but that's, I purchased all of it. I purchased the whole thing. Everything in that square belongs to me.
Okay, well, the survey that we have was done in 1993, I think it is, yeah, October 12th, 1993. So apparently it's not totally accurate, but, okay, but you say it all belongs to you now, right?
Let me just. Now, for one thing, this is what the one that is in question were, it was adjudicated to the parish. I bought it from the parish.
Okay,
Okay, but the name you just mentioned, they
Okay.
adjudicated to the parish for non-payment of taxes, and then I bought it from the parish,
okay, thank you.
okay?
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
All right, next item is item 6, 2019-1544-ZC, existing zonings, NC1 Professional Office District. Proposed zoning is ED1 Primary Education District. It's .17 acres. The petitioner is Eagleville 7th LLC, Paul D. Reese. The owner is Eagleville 7th LLC, Paul D. Reese. Parcel located on the north side of Eagleville Street, on the west side of 7th Street, on the east side of 8th Street, being lots 9 and 10, Square 8, Chinchuba Subdivision, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 4. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with a variety of commercial uses. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering that the site is abutting ED1 primary educational district to the north and to the west. The objective of the request is to allow for the existing building to be converted into office and classroom space for the adjacent school. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Yes, sir, please state your name and address.
My name is Paul Reese, 1545 Lakeshore Drive, Mandeville. This particular property is located in what I call the West Chinchuba nook. It's behind Cole's Rental World off of the 190 Service Road, north of the Highway 22 McDonald's, backs up to Boshen subdivision. This area has professional offices, law offices, CPA offices, healthcare facility, a strip mall, some apartments. This particular property is a 60 by 120 foot corner lot that is adjacent to an existing property that is used as Montessori Christian Academy. In 2009, we located Montessori Christian Academy in a building that was formerly a daycare. We acquired property next door to the north for additional facilities for the school. It's generally a preschool and small class sizes, if anybody's familiar with the Montessori schools. It's not, 30 kids. It's like 5 kids in a classroom. And I think generally at any time there may be 20 children among 4 or 5 teachers on the site. So it's a very, very light use. This property became available next door. It was a CPA's office. Mr. Al Zahn passed away, and so we bought the property from his widow with the intention of adding an elementary school classroom and offices in this building. So there would probably be 5 to 10 children in grades 1 to 3 on the site. There's plenty of parking on the site. It's heavily wooded, fits in with the community and what is in the neighborhood. And so I would ask that that to be approved.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for this change? Anyone wish to speak against this change? I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm very familiar with this area. I used to own property right adjacent to them. It's highly appropriate, and I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you.
So I said. Oh. All right, Mr. Baggett, do you want to? That's right. All right, item 7, 2019-1547-ZC. Existing zonings A2 Suburban District and RO Rural Overlay. Proposed zonings A2 Suburban District, RO Rural Overlay, and adding Manufactured Housing Overlay, MHO. It's 1.34 acres. Petitioner's Angel McCoy. Owner's Angel McCoy. Parcel located on the east side of Stephanie Lane, south of Elaine Lane, being Lot 51, Ramsey Estate Subdivision, Phase 2, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection to the request for a manufactured housing overlay and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Angel McCoy? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address, please.
It's Angel McCoy, 75064 Stephanie Lane in Covington, Louisiana, 70433.
Okay.
No, 35, I'm sorry.
And you're wanting to add the manufactured housing overlay to this piece of property?
Yes, sir, to get a mobile home.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak for.
All right, thank you.
I see none. Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this request is compatible to the area. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Lauren. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you. Item H, 2019-1550-ZC, existing zoning NC2, indoor retail and service district. Proposed zoning is I1, industrial district. It's 1.123 acres. Petitioner Julie and Brian Dare. Owner is Julie and Brian Dare. Parcel located south side of Highway 190, east of Pontchartrain Drive, being portion of Lot 545, Forest Glen, addition to Lacombe, Park Lacombe, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Although the Highway 190 corridor maintains a various level of commercial zoning districts, staff feels that the I-1 industrial zoning is not appropriate for the area and would like to recommend denial of the request.
Thank you. Julie or Brian Dare?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, let's see, we have a card on you?
You did. I think you might have used it up on that big case y'all was,
Yeah. Yeah, because you called and I was like, oh, no, not us.
wrong case.
Okay.
You had a card.
Yes, we got it.
State your name and address.
Brian Dare. I live in 26355 Mildred Drive in Lacombe.
Okay. Tell us why you're wanting to go to the industrial.
Well, we want to put a boat and RV storage yard, like a lot. Just limestone type thing, no buildings. I know staff denied it, but if you've seen the area, I mean, there's all kind of small businesses there. There's a body shop, there's a hotel, there's car lots down the street in Big Branch. This wouldn't make any noise. You know, it's not like it's gonna be some heavy. And I know I-1, even I-1, the stuff that you allow in I-1, it would all fit there. I mean, I'm not sure what map y'all look at, but there's not a whole lot of houses there. And they said the residents south of it, which is Pichon Road, south of the bicycle trail, it's
We lived there for 30 years
yeah,
back there, and
there's not a whole lot of houses
There's not, and they're very, you know, it's not like.
spread out.
Yeah, it's very spread out. And we're lifelong residents of Lacombe, and we'd just like to help the community, because there's a lot of places that they don't have storage for boats or school buses. And I know a lot of the subdivisions in Mandeville, Slaughter have restrictions. And
yeah.
we live in Lacombe, we have water, bodies of water, you know, and we're just trying to get up a small business and be prosperous, and we only have one child, and maybe leave it to her one day.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this zoning change? Anyone wish to speak against this zoning change? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. and Mrs. Dare, I live in Lacombe. I'm familiar with the area.
Okay.
I certainly don't have a problem with commercial on Highway 190, but when we ask for an I zoning, that's pretty tough, actually.
What if you look at I-1, there's only like 5 different things y'all allow in there.
I see that, but it also looks to me that possibly an HC zoning would fit that bill. Is that correct, Helen?
No, if there's no building on the property, if it's just outdoor storage, it's only permitted under I-1 and I-2.
I see, okay.
And actually, I looked at the same thing. I thought the same thing, the HC. But if you look at HC, that opens up a lot more than your I-1.
That's true.
If you look at that, it does.
And I've talked to the people, we have a church next to us, and Banting's
Right.
Nursery is right next door.
Right.
The church was thrilled with, you know, they were happy. They were just glad a bar wasn't gone.
Right.
And it will be, you know, it will be quiet. It's not gonna be a lot of traffic in and out.
Was there one of the yellow zoning signs put up? I didn't see
Yeah.
one.
You know, there was, my husband works offshore, and I had passed the property, and there was a yellow zoning sign. And then I was going to Mandeville, you know, several days later, and I had even told him the sign was gone. I don't know, and then I pulled up in the driveway to see if maybe it had blown off with the weather or the wind. But I seen the 2 stakes, but no sign was anywhere around the ditch or anywhere. So we don't know what happened with the sign. I mean,
Well, one of the problems with zoning is if you rezone the property to an industrial classification, and whether you sell the property or
Right.
you continue to build that, someone else could then do whatever else is permitted in the I-1 classification. So that's what we all need to take into account.
Yeah, but I would just ask you to look at your I-1 and what you allow in it, and a lot of those things, they would fit there. They really would.
I mean, we have that Star Motel that's closer into our precious little town of Lacombe. And the Star Motel still has people that stay there, and then it looks like a junkyard, and it's a car, they sell cars there.
I'm familiar with it.
What we propose to
Yeah.
do is gonna be clean, have lighting, you know, we're
And we-
lifelong residents of Lacombe.
We
and
do
wanna
understand.
make it better.
We do understand the I-1 thing, but if you really look at the I-1 and you look where this property's at, everything in I-1, a welding shop, you know, that would go there. I don't know, a seafood store or something it had, you know. It's nothing major in I-1. I thought it was some big major type loud noise stuff, but it's really not.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
All right. Is there anyone else, any of the commissioners wish to speak on this? Commissioner Crawford, do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Drum.
I second his motion.
Commissioner Drum, second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you.
All right, item 9, 2019-1559-ZC. Existing zonings A1A Suburban District, plus the RO Rural Overlay. Proposed zonings A1A Suburban District, Manufactured Housing Overlay, and Rural Overlay. It's .277 acres. Petitioners Katie Michael, owners Lori Vanderwall. Parcel located on the northwest Wyndham Road, east of Louisiana Highway 40, Covington, Ward 2, District 2. Staff?
Staff does not have any objection to the requested zoning change to manufactured housing overlay. Actually, there's a portion of the property that's already zone manufactured housing overlay, and staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Yes, you are.
I'm Katie Michelle.
Okay. And you're wanting to add the manufactured housing overlay to this property?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me see if there's anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak. Anyone wish to speak in favor? Okay, we've got Myrtle Cook that wishes to speak against. Come to the mic and state your name and address, please.
I'm not used to this at all.
Okay, just
So
state your
please-
name and address for me, please.
It's Myrtle Cook, 79309 Northwest Wyndham Road, Covington, Louisiana, 70435.
Okay, and you're wanting to speak against,
Yes, I have the land on side of it. We have 5 acres on the very side of that. And that little piece is too little, it's too small. We used to cut the grass there for this old man that was really rude and everything. He had one leg, couldn't cut the grass. He wanted to put a school bus on it and all this. Well, my husband felt sorry for him, and I started cutting the grass, keeping it all nice and everything. It's perfect right now. But this piece of land is just too small. I have land like 2 feet on the other side of it. And I just don't think it's big enough for a trailer at all. And the lady that lives on the other side of it is Sheila. And her property runs right back on, there's a roadway going back there. Years ago, all that land was purchased by one person. And you know how you give a right-of-ways back in those days? Well, the people that lives in the back, the Millers, they bought 18 acres, I think, and Mr. Vandorf took them people to court, I don't know how many times. He kept bragging them to court, saying they were going over this little piece of land. But the court got so aggravated with him and stuff, and he threw it out. He said that man has righted away to go back there. So I'm not listening to you no more, period. But we still cut the grass. Sheila cuts it, and I cut it. And we just don't think it's appropriate for a trailer. It floods that little bit. It don't have a septic tank no more. I mean, it's got one there, but it's so old. They got gas lines running all in the front of it. And we just don't appreciate somebody coming to put a little bitty mobile home there. And it has to be little because it's not much. Don't you have to leave so much land with a driveway going to the back? So how are they going to have so much room to put a little trailer there?
you have a quarter of an acre, a little over a quarter of an acre.
It don't even look like that. I mean, I cut it and everything. It just don't look like a quarter of an acre. It don't. I have 5 acres on side of it, all the way to the back and everything. And I look like, I don't know. I hate to do this, but we just don't want it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. And wait a minute, my daughter wrote this on here. Okay, they have to put a septic tank down and all that. Well, hose waters, I don't know.
Okay,
But I appreciate you
all right, thank you.
talking to me, thank you.
All right, we also have a card from Sheila Hoffman McLean. That's Miss McLean. She indicates that,
She can't talk.
she is,
She has a tube down her throat.
a nonverbal, and she wrote in the comments, property up for rezone, holds water. I have pictures, how will the old septic work? How far off-road, would structure be?
I mean,
Okay.
if you have to have it going this way, there's hardly no room. If you're going like this way, how long is that trailer gonna be? How far do they have to stop that trailer before it gets to your property?
Well, they have, parish has certain, laws in place that they have to have setbacks and side, setbacks and everything.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what it is right off the top of my head. Helen, can you help me out there?
It's 25 in the front, along the front property line, 25 in the rear, or 20% of the lot depth, and 7.5 on each side.
Okay,
I
thank
mean,
you.
I wouldn't want it smack against my fence, you know?
It won't
And
be.
it would have to be either against my fence or the road that runs towards the back 16 acres. And
Okay.
I can't believe they're doing this after us, not coming to us first, but I mean, cutting grass for 30 years on that little property.
Okay.
Because we tried keeping it clean, nice, and all this, because you drive into my property and you see it.
All right. The, as far as the septic tank? Okay. All right. This is, as far as the septic tank, the sewage and everything, it'll have to be more than likely redone since it's old. And, okay. Okay. All right. Ms. Hoffman wrote this. It says, 79317, Northwest Wyndham Road, Covington, 70435, direct access, the street across from the .277 acres, land holds water. I have several photos, which she showed, one, photos different days, how far off the road would a dwelling, be put, septic very old, I mowed property for 20 years, okay?
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
all live there.
Pardon?
We all lived there for a lifetime.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you so much for listening.
all right. Anyone else wish to speak against?
Hi, my name's Sal Michelle, that's my daughter, Katie Michelle. Just want to speak on her behalf. If she was
Let
gonna
me-
put,
Let me be sure there's not anyone else that wants to speak, against? Okay, I don't have a card, so, all right. And
Well,
then
I didn't-
we'll go to rebuttal now, and you can speak on your daughter's behalf and what,
the young lady just said that there's a 7.5 foot on either side, so we could put a mobile home there that was 50 feet across, 30 feet deep. So that's approximately 1,500 square foot. She's a single parent. Her mother lives down the block at Trace. Anyway, and that's why she wants to be there, because she'll be right by her mom, so, and help out with her daughter.
okay,
So, and I understand you're gonna meet the guidelines of the parish. If there's a new septic tank needs to be installed, then we'll put that in there,
yep,
okay?
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do you have any further comment,
Can I show you something? This is the property.
yeah, that's the
Slip.
picture.
Yes, there's the one up, Sheila, your picture went out. Sheila's picture went out. But it's so small that it's pitiful. I don't know how he's talking about putting a trail.
Okay.
I don't.
All right,
Thank
thank you. All right, we've had for and against and rebuttals. All right, Commissioner Willie, I'll bring it back to the commission.
I have two questions. One of the petitioner, what size mobile home you planning to purchase or put on that lot? Was it a 30, you said there was 30 by 50 space, but what size manufactured home you deciding to buy?
The actual size would be a 30 by 50.
So is it like a double wide
Double
type?
wide,
Okay.
yes. And the 50 would go across, the lot's 79 feet wide
Okay.
by 125 feet.
I got that part.
Okay.
Now, of staff, Helen, considering that North Wyndham Road right-of-way that's through part of that property, would they can meet all the setbacks with the 30 by 50 manufactured home on that lot, turned either way?
Are you counting the roadway? It
I'm going by
I'm
what the-
talking to staff
Oh, okay,
now, so.
okay.
Well, the setback is 25 feet from the property line.
Okay, from
Uh,
any property line?
No.
Okay.
So if you're looking at Northwest Wyndham Road, this more than likely will be the front, considering that this is
Right.
where the street is. So you're talking about 25 feet from the property line, and the rear is 20% of the lot depth. So if you do 79, 20% of 79 will
15
give you the
feet
rear,
roughly, yeah.
and then 7.5 on each side.
But now, they would have to come from the property line or from the edge of Wyndham Road that's used as, it goes into that property? That's,
Usually it's from the edge of the road.
okay. All right, so there would be enough room to run it east and west, you saying?
Well, I guess I can calculate it for you.
So if it's 50, that lot 79, you need 15 or 20 feet in the rear and so much in the front, that's 30. They'd be running close. Or you'd have to run it long ways to fit on the property. How y'all plan to put the mobile home on the property?
We haven't even decided that.
Okay.
We're trying to
Yeah.
make sure that,
Make sure it fits, considering
yes.
that right-of-way that's through part of that property.
correct, yeah.
I mean, the depth of your mobile home is 30 feet?
30, correct.
It has to go like this, huh?
Yes, it should fit because you would have 24 feet left in the rear.
Yes, plenty of room.
Did you hear Helen?
Now, what's that, Helen?
I said it would leave 24 feet in the rear. If you do 79 minus 30 minus 25, you'll have 24 feet left.
So you'd have, it could fit that
20%
way.
of 79 feet
15.
is
15 feet roughly.
15 feet, so it would meet the requirements, and then it's 7.5 on each
He
side.
can place that mobile home on that property, considering the right-of-way through that property.
Well, I don't know how far the right-of-way goes into the property, but is this is a parish-maintained road?
Yeah, it's an asphalt road. So, I guess it's a tacit dedicated road, if I had to guess. So it could fit on there.
It appears that it
Okay.
would fit.
I'm gonna move for approval based on that information.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
I'm very familiar with the area, it's in my backyard. At one time, there was even, if you look at your photograph, there was a trailer at one time between North Wyndham and South Wyndham Road. It's been removed since then. Based on staff recommendation and meeting the criteria of the zoning report, I would like to second.
We have a second by Commissioner Seeger. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you. All right, item 10, we've already taken care of. Item 11, 2019-1563-ZC, existing zonings MD3 Medical Facility District, proposed zonings HC2 Highway Commercial District. It's 1.65 acres. The petitioner is John Layens, owner, New Track West LLC, Emerson Laga. Parcel located on the north side of Keystone Boulevard, east of US Highway 190, East Service Road, Covington, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed as a planned district.
Okay, it's on, but it wasn't hearing you.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed as a planned district with a mix of commercial uses. Although the site is abutting HC2 Highway Commercial on the west side, staff feels that the existing zoning designation is appropriate for the site and would like to recommend denial of the request.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lyons?
Yes, good evening. Chip Lyons, 201 St. Charles, here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is Louisiana Dental, which is the largest group dental practice in the state. They're currently headquartered in Covington. They've outgrown their current space and they want to relocate and build a new building on this space. It would be an office building with their headquarters and back office space. The zoning in this area is intended for larger scale medical facilities. Lakeview Regional Medical Center is there, Lakeview Behavioral Health. Because this property is currently zoned MD3, that zoning district like I-1, which the gentleman addressed earlier, is a little unusual in that it doesn't include uses from lower zoning districts. Usually the uses, as you know, are stacked. MD3 allows only 4 uses: a hospital, there's already a hospital 2 blocks away; a behavioral health facility, there's already one across the street; a vet clinic, and a lab. So really, you've only got 2 uses left on this property. All the owners of Louisiana Dental Center are trying to do is, one, stay in the parish and build an office building there, 10,000 square foot office building. The adjacent property is HC2. That's why we thought it was, at least from the development of the property and from a zoning perspective, we thought it was reasonable to ask for this property to also be changed to HC2, and we think that would fit in both with the adjacent HC2 uses and also with the medical uses across the street. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have Dr. Lacoste from Louisiana Dental Center and the project contractor and project architect here to answer any questions. And actually, I think Dr. Lacoste has a rendering of what the building would look like. Yeah, come on up, please.
Thank you.
Sure.
Let me see if there's anyone else that would like to speak, and then we'll take it. This is a drawing of the proposed building.
Yes, sir. If I may speak. My name's Joseph Lacoste. The purpose of this is to house our management office, and the whole top floor is nothing but management offices, and the bottom floor is really an area that's designed for meeting rooms, or where our doctors can come and learn, and we'll have CE courses, etc. But this is specifically for office use, and we are a medical, facility.
Let me ask staff a question. If it's for medical use, although it's MD3, which is a lot more zoning than he actually needs, why couldn't he build what he's asking, since it's going to be part of a dental office?
This is a general office. There's no medical practicing that's going to be taking place in that office.
Something's, we're not really mic'd well. There's no practice of dentistry. We don't have any commercial practicing of dentistry.
Well, that's the reason you can't.
We're really the management office for 18 dental offices in the region, and we would use the area in order for all of our people to come and meet. And there would be times, although infrequent, where our doctors would come together in order to basically have maybe a CE learning class of some type like that in the meeting area.
Okay.
But it would be very light.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of this zoning change? Anyone wish to speak against this zoning change? Close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Ms. Lambert, is it working? Yes. Anyway, I don't have a problem with the use of that property in that location, but my concern is the H2 zoning and all the other uses that it could be. Is there another, for that size building, is there another less intense zoning it would fit into besides HC2?
Well, there's the HC1 that is also, a lesser zoning. And then you have the NC6, which allows for offices and also for a conference center. And as it was previously stated, although they're not planning on having a conference center, they'll have classes and conferences on the first floor.
So his use could
it
fit
might
in
be something
NC6?
that you want to look into. It's either an HC1 if you want to stay under the HC or go to NC6.
So his building and use could fit in the NC6?
Well, it was described as a 10,000 square foot max building, and what they could have under the NC6 is 15,000.
So it would fit? And the use
According to what he's just stated, yes.
Right, and the use would be appropriate in that zoning? As
Yeah,
offices
office,
and
yes.
classes and stuff?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I can support a HC2, but, I'd be interested in NC6.
Yeah, and the building's approximately 10,000 square feet, and we had looked at some of the NC districts. We chose HC2 because it was the adjacent property, but I think NC6 would work as well. I guess I just want to make sure from the council and planning staff perspective, if we go to that lower zoning classification, we don't have to re-advertise or anything. We're okay
No.
proceeding on that basis.
You can make a request right there.
If you should
So you'd like
make a
to
public
request
request to change it.
Yes, well, then I would request that change indeed.
Okay. Well, I'll move for approval for NC6, Clippy's property.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner
Thank you so much.
Fitzmaurice.
I'll second the motion.
Second to go to an NC6. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is 2019-1564-ZC. Existing zoning is A1 Suburban District and Rural Overlay, RO. Proposed zoning is A2 Suburban District, RO, and would like to add a manufactured housing overlay. It's 1 acre. Petitioners Jarrett and Courtney Wallace, owners Dorothy Sanchez and Daryl Gonsolin. Parcel located at the end of Martha Sharp Road, east of House Creek Road, north of Louisiana 40, Bush, Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection to the request for the manufactured housing overlay. However, staff does not recommend approval for the request to rezone the property to A2 Suburban, considering that the site is surrounded by A1 Suburban zoning district.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Wallace, and I live
Okay.
at 87382 Highway 450 at this moment. This is my husband, Jarrett Wallace. We are interested in putting a mobile home on an acre of property that is actually considered 15 acres of my grandparents' property. They live in New Orleans. They do not do anything with this property, and they would like it to stay in the family. I would like to purchase an acre as of right now, put a manufactured home overlay on it so we can put a mobile home for us and our 3 kids. I work in St. Tammany Parish. My kids go to school here in St. Tammany Parish. My husband's worked in St. Tammany Parish. We don't want to leave the parish. We love it here. On the other hand, this is my grandparents' property. I don't want it to go to anybody else. I would love for it to stay in our family. I would love to raise my kids and my grandkids. And so all we're asking is for the opportunity to start small with a mobile home and possibly build over the years for our kids and our grandchildren.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this zoning change? I have a card here from Sharon Tanner. Who don't know if it's for or against, says I wish to speak. So Sharon Tanner? Please state your name and address.
Sharon Tanner, 22277 Martha Shop Road, Bush, 70431. We have been there almost 20 years in this land that we bought. And now they want to put a, what do you call it?
A right of way.
A right-of-way in. But if they do that, they're gonna be put in right next to my fence where we go to our driveway, whether my husband and I did, but he passed away. You know, and it floods really bad down in that area that it goes all down that way.
It's really close to the house for a right of way. There is
Yes.
other ways onto the land.
There are two
It just-
other ways onto the land
It'd just be a
itself.
matter of clearing the land to do it. We're not opposed to them living back there. It's just the right of way is so close to the house.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Courtney Wallace, do you want to comment on what the lady said?
I actually have a right-of-way grant that gives the right-of-way through that property onto my grandparents' property. Without that grant, the property is actually landlocked, and there is not another way through the parish as of this moment to get to that property. So this would be additional money and additional steps that me and my husband would have to take. But according to this right-of-way grant that we do have that was filed with St. Tammany Parish in 1977, it gives us the right-of-way from the beginning of Martha Sharp Road to the edge of my grandparents' property where we are purchasing the land. You should have the new survey that I've actually submitted to the committee that actually shows where the right-of-way is from the right-of-way grant. And then the additional 35 would be on us to put like a small driveway through the property to get there.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Do you have any further comment? Okay, come to the microphone, please.
I would like to show the survey from 1985 when Carol Sharp and her husband owned it. You can see the right of way coming. There's where the Parish Road ends. It comes in and goes that way. And up there, this is where Miss Tanner is, right here. And there's, you know, like I said, it's close to her house. And it's a flood zone, and there's 5 big oak trees there, but we keep it maintained. The woods next to it on the other side, you know, it's just woods, you know. And there is way down off Spell Road, the dirt road on the other side. You go down there because they got access for the electricians to go down there and do the poles. It runs right into her grandparents' land up here.
All right,
That's the best I can say. Thank you.
thank you. All right,
Wait, somebody.
yes, sir. State your name and address.
Yes, sir. My name is Darrell, last name Gonsolin. I live at 4160 Old Miss Drive in Kenner, Louisiana. Now, the property we're talking about, Martha Sharp used to live at the end of that road. They dedicated that road at one time all the way to her property. Right next to her is my property and my wife's property. They didn't go any further. I don't understand why they didn't. But that right now is the only way in or out of the property. I put a bridge in on the other side by Sydney Spell Road. I built a 40-foot bridge that you drive across, and nobody's ever maintained it. And it just, all of a sudden, just, you know, fell apart. Now, we're looking for a way into our property, and if I have to spend another $10,000, $12,000 for a bridge, you know, that's kind of ridiculous when we already have a road going through there.
I understood that from what the folks said, they have a right-of-way, and they didn't mention anything about a bridge.
No, that's on the other side.
It's on the other side,
On
Okay,
Sydney
Sydney
Spell
Spell Road.
Road.
okay,
The bridge is not there anymore.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
all right.
But when they put that road in, my cousin was living in a house that I think that this lady is living in. And I was told that the reason why that road didn't go all the way to my property was because he had said that he had a septic tank there.
Or was gonna put a
Or
septic
was
tank.
gonna put a septic tank,
Okay.
and they didn't put
They
it
didn't
into
do
the
it.
road.
But right now, they have access to this 1 acre tract,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So are you speaking against them using that right of way that was
No,
granted?
no, we looking to get into all property.
Yeah.
That's all property past that.
And my granddaughter has an acre of it.
Yeah, we,
Yeah,
we're the owners of,
Okay,
the property all the way in the back,
But there's a certain, I don't know how far it is.
and
Like
I assure
can't
you.
get to my property.
well,
because-
there's a 60-foot right of way that comes into this 13.78 acre tract. Is that 13.78, is that your property?
Yes.
Okay,
That's right, correct.
so.
And I assure you, that's not no
I think it would be
flood
up
right
to
there.
y'all to negotiate using a part of this 60-foot right-of-way coming into your property to get access to your property. I mean, it abuts your property.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we need access in. We the last property all the way in the back of Adrian
No, Martha Shaw.
and Martha Shaw.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing we're considering is the portion, I want to say it's on the southeast corner, and it's this 1 acre tract,
Yes.
okay? And the rest of it is not being considered for this manufactured housing overlay,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna do that at a later date, so we just wanna get
Okay.
the
Okay.
zoning down.
Okay, we just want to go ahead and get the
Yeah.
zoning.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right. We've had speakers pro and against, so we're gonna bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Courtney, I have a question. So the 30-foot right-of-way is the only right-of-way you have into your property, to that 1 acre?
Yes, sir.
And
As
there's
of
no
this
other
moment,
right-of-way
yes.
on any other side of that property to get to that?
Not that the parish owns or
okay,
any other
so-
way for us to get into it at this moment.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve, and if y'all can work out something else to make it
And
easier for
can
the
I
other
just
folks, I'd appreciate that.
Kind of let you guys know
Yeah.
and let you know at the same time, I'm really not looking to make enemies. I'm
mean,
not
it's-
looking to build a road. We just
get
want a
it.
right of way. Like, that's it. I'm not. So, that's it. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. I heard somebody say they had a question. I think the lady behind you there, she had a question of, do you have a question, ma'am?
For me? Oh.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have a question?
Nothing against these people, nice people. Just so close, she's got like 6 great-great-grandchildren that run around that yard, and it's like 25 feet from her home. And if you're gonna grant a right-of-way, I'm assuming it has to come from the property line out, correct?
There is a right-of-way.
Yeah, that's what, but it doesn't show on this diagram. That's what I was wanting to show y'all before. That's her end of that land, that south end right there. The right-of-way turns. Parish Road ends right there.
Okay.
That's private property, but it's just so close to her house, no privacy. And we was also told by the council that at the end of Martha Sharp, after Miss Sharon McCann moved in at the back, y'all said no more addresses off of Martha Sharp, none.
Well, they have a document that's been recorded at the parish that shows this 35-foot right-of-way.
Says 30 on this one, sir.
Well, it's 35 on this one, so I'm not gonna argue over 5 feet.
Okay.
But we have a motion and a second to approve the change,
How
to
far?
add the manufactured housing overlay on that 1 acre.
How far?
Okay? All right.
How far is the
Any
footage?
further discussion? Please vote.
Just to be sure it has to vote.
The A2 and MHO, that's what is being requested.
Right.
The motion is to.
Yeah, or both. Right, Bernie?
Yeah, the full request. Yeah, the full request.
Right. We got a motion and a second, and somebody needs to vote.
Y'all need to vote.
Who needs to vote?
Mr. Seeger.
Who?
Mr. Seeger.
Okay, now we got it.
10 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. All right, next item is 2019-1565-ZC. Existing zonings A1A Suburban District and RO Rural Overlay. The proposed zonings A1A Suburban District Rural Overlay and adding a manufactured housing overlay. It's 14.636 acres. Petitioner's Caitlin Galloway. The owner is Kenneth and Helen Galloway. Parcel located on the west side of Louisiana 437, north of K Sharp Lane, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Staff does not have any objection to the requested zoning change to manufactured housing overlay and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Yes, please state your name. Let's see, I've got, go ahead and state your name and address.
Okay. Caitlin Galloway, 44181 Washley Trace Circle, and I live in Robert currently.
Okay, and you're just wanting to add a manufactured housing?
Yes, sir. It's my family's land, and I plan on moving back to St. Tammany Parish.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we've got, looks like 2 people. Let's see, we've got Helen Galloway. That's you.
That's my grandma.
Okay. She would, says do not wish to speak, but she's in favor of it. And Nicholas Wilson?
Yeah.
That's you? Okay, and you're in favor. Do you want to comment on anything? Okay. All right, and we'll go to those that are against. Marlene Dewitt?
Marlene Dewey, and I live at 20051 Narrow Road. This property is approximately 1/10 of a mile from me. I have not seen it. I did not go to the courthouse and get a survey. I have spoken to Councilman Fitzgerald. I have met with Helen Lambert so that I would have a full understanding of exactly what they were wanting. I have an objection to the entire 14-plus acres having a mobile home overlay. They want to put, Caitlin, according to Mr. Fitzgerald, wants to put a trailer on a 1-acre spot. And because of its master zoning with the 14 acres, the most they could put on it would be 4 residences. The one that they have, this one, and then if they wanted to put 2 more. And I understand that, but if it gets approved for the whole 14-plus acres, what would happen down the road if they sold it and somebody wanted to come in and invest in doing the subdivision that would be necessary to put in a large mobile home park. The homes, my home is worth well in excess of $300,000. Most of the homes around that area are. There are mobile homes in the area, been there for decades. But what's being built out there now is basically all new. I have no objection to taking 1 to 3 acres for Caitlin, a home site, but I do object to the entire 14 acres because once it's sold, if that overlays on the whole 14 acres, what would a new buyer do to it? The traffic on Lee Road, I've owned that property since 1977, and the traffic on Lee Road from any time of day I would go down to 190. I might pass 15 or 20 cars. Now it's frequently over 200 cars that I pass. I don't know when the last traffic monitoring was done, but I count the cars. And most any time of day, it's a minimum of 60, unless it's well into the night. But in peak times, it's well over 200 cars. And just I have to wait through 3 and 4 traffic lights to get off of Lee Road onto 190 most days when I go in the peak hours, which is between like 7 to 10 in the morning and 3 to 6 at night. I think if anybody did down the road put in a 14-plus acre mobile home park, that would just increase the traffic dramatically. Now, Councilman Fitzgerald did speak to them. He grew up with the owners, knows them well, and he said that they could amend their request at this meeting tonight to a 1 to 3 acre overlay. And that's what the maximum I would like to be done. I am dead set against the entire 14-plus acres being with the overlay.
Okay,
And I thank you.
thank you. Angela Bittner?
I'm against this. I live at 54 Holly Crested Boulevard in Covington. This is my mother at 20051 Narrow Road. For the reasons she said, I'm against a 14-acre overlay. The zoning currently is for 3-acre home sites. It had before been 5-acre home sites. So the homeowners in this area have already taken a hit once years ago. And we have a comprehensive zoning plan that apparently has changed a lot. The problem with approving even one mobile home site, even at a 3-acre, is that when all of you esteemed commissioners are gone or retired or gone on to better things, the next person's going to come and want another overlay on that site. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but as sometimes happens, staff says, well, there's already one there, we're okay with it. And then the next thing you know, you end up with a full-blown trailer park. It's my understanding without a subdivision, it cannot be a 1-acre trailer park, a 1-acre site. So it'd have to be 3 acres. The other problem is, where's the ingress and egress for this 1-acre or 3-acre site? If it's on Lee Road, there's a very dangerous curve right there. Just within the past 2 months, there was a traffic fatality right there. Part of the problem is the ditches along Highway 437, a state highway, which the parish cannot maintain or widen. The ditches are like the Grand Canyon. It's extremely hazardous. And the way Narrow Road intersects in right at that curve, it intersects at a weird angle. So people stop, they don't just turn off of Highway 437. It's dangerous enough. Now, if they wanted to do ingress and egress through the existing driveway to that 14-acre property, that's one solution. But right now, we don't even know where on the property they would plan to put a single 3-acre overlay.
Okay.
So for that reason, I'm against it. And and I guess what it will do to home values if you just keep chipping away at the residential sizes, 5 acres to 3 acres. Now we have 1 acres.
Okay.
It just keeps beating up your long-term citizens who have been here for decades and decades.
All right, thank you. All right, Caitlin Galloway.
Yes. My paper here shows a drawing of where the 3-acre lot will be, like where I plan on it being, and it's farthest away from the curve. It's at the
Okay.
very beginning of our property, of my family's property.
Okay.
And if I wasn't, what I understand is there can't be enough trailers to be a mobile home park there. There is not enough acreage, correct?
You wouldn't be able to just have a mobile home park there. You'd have to come back before this commission
Right.
and get a proper zoning for a mobile home park.
Which
The-
Miss
the-
Helen explained that to us when we, went down to the,
Okay, the survey that you're looking at, that 3.001 acres,
yeah.
that's what you're wanting to have the mobile home overlay or manufactured housing overlay added?
The 3 acres is where I plan on putting the mobile home, so all of it can be the mobile home overlay.
This is where the mobile home,
Yeah.
this is not.
The 3 acres isn't.
The 3
But you're
acres,
gonna-
there's an existing house on the 3 acres.
Okay,
Her
where are you
grandmother's
going,
house is on the 3 acres.
where are you going to put the
It-
manufactured housing?
The proposed mobile site is west of the 3 acres,
Okay, all right. And-
which this can only be divided into three separate parts anyway.
Okay, that's, okay, thank you. I see now what you're looking at on that. She's looking at a piece of property that's 65 foot wide by 157 deep to put the manufactured housing overlay on. Now, it may have to be a little bit larger than that. Helen, can,
The mobile home is to be placed on 11.6 acre.
pardon? Yeah, it leaves the 11.6 acres, but the folks that are speaking against have a problem putting the manufactured housing overlay on the 11.635 acres. Okay, and I'm kind of hearing that you're just wanting to be able to put a mobile home.
Just one.
Okay, so you don't need the manufactured housing overlay on the whole 11.635 acres,
No, it's not necessary.
okay? All right, that would satisfy you folks if it was not on the whole, okay?
But
Okay, come to the mic, please.
can I say one thing? There's a total of 14 point whatever,
Yeah.
which is close to 15 acres.
Right.
How many mobile homes can actually be there?
We're not here to discuss that.
Okay, that's my
Okay.
question.
We're here to discuss adding a manufactured housing overlay on this smaller section that you're wanting to add a manufactured housing,
Right.
okay? All right? So I'm gonna close it to the public,
Okay.
okay?
So what is the size?
Come to the mic.
Just to clarify, what is the size of the smaller piece that on the drawing you're looking at? Because I haven't seen that.
65.2 by 157.
No, sir. This is the setbacks that are being shown.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry.
It's 3 acres
Barney, you
is
got
what
it
it's
figured
supposed to be, if it fits the A1, whatever. So that's not even plotted on this plat. So we don't know.
If there is a request to reduce the size, it would have to be the 246 by at least 527 to make another 3 acre here in the front. If that's, if the petitioner is willing to amend the request.
I believe I heard her say, you're willing to amend the request to that, what's that, 3 acres, Helen?
It'd probably have to be a little more than 3 acres.
Come back to the mic, please.
Will it have to be more than 3 acres, Ms. Helen?
The minimum would have to be 3 acres.
So should I, 4 acres? I mean, what?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we, it's not a lot of record, it's 11 acres.
We-
We're taking a section and putting that at the
Right.
edge of it.
We just,
We're doing the whole thing, we don't need to make a lot here.
That's right.
That's right.
I think it'll solve the problem, I think you made the right call there, you said, make it the 246
So
by
there's not a drawing
527
on
by
3 acres.
527 and
Yeah,
call it
that's
an
fine.
MHO. And it'd be squared off.
There you go.
That's
There
fine.
you go.
That's fine.
There you go.
It's
Right.
just an area, okay, it's just an area.
Helen, did that work for you? Okay. Do you understand? Do y'all understand?
Yes.
Okay.
You need to come back?
The actual lot's gonna be less than 3 acres.
No.
Actual area overlay.
It'd be around 3 to 4 acres, it looks like, according to the map.
Okay.
Just square it off.
All right, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
I'm very familiar with this area. Also, it is a dangerous area. But there are a lot of manufactured houses there. There's a lot of houses that are in disarray also. I think that this would be an improvement for that on some of those. And I'd like to move that we accept
the overlay?
with the amended request of
Okay. All right.
What is the amended request?
The amended request is 246 by 527. Okay?
It's gonna square,
Agreeable to you all? Okay.
that squares this off.
That's what it does.
What I'm saying is it's got to be there.
Yeah, they
Okay,
already said it
Tom,
was
you
okay.
got anything else?
Nope.
Commissioner Lauren?
They've answered my question. It is at their request. We do that. Because they have to ask to amend their request.
They did. Okay. Commissioner Willie?
And just to clear it up, first it was requested for the 14 acres, and that included where the house was. So that's all we removed, just the spot that's being requested tonight is the 246.53 by the 527 point something. And everybody's good. Was there a motion made?
You made the motion, I need a second.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ten yeas, one absent.
All right. Next item, 2019-1566-ZC. Existing zoning is A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning is A2 Suburban District. It's 4.95 acres. The petitioner's Helmut Armlich Jr. and the owner is Helmut Armlich Jr., partial located on the southeast corner of Pat O'Brien Road, north of Pine Hollow Road, Covington, Ward 2, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential and agricultural uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval of the request, considering that the property is surrounded by other parcels of land zone A1 Suburban. At this time, staff would like to recommend denial.
Thank you. Helmut Armlich?
Yes, sir. Helmut Armlich Jr., 79274 Pat O'Brien Road in Covington, Louisiana, 70435.
Okay.
I've got, it might be a little overkill. I've never been to a meeting like this before, but I have
some supporting documentation that I printed out, if you want to pass that out. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening in reference to the zoning change of a 3-acre parcel over my property at 79274 Pat O'Brien Road. I purchased this 33-acre property in early 2006 with the hope of having a property accommodate any of my family and friends should they want to move into the area near me. A few years after I purchased the property, I sold two 2-acre parcels to Bob and Mary Mayo and their daughter, Bob and April Mayo and their daughter Mary Mayo. Mr. and Mrs. Mayo built a single-family residential home on one of the lots, and their daughter Mary built a handicap-accessible single-family residential home on the other lot. I now have good friends Carrie and Terry Demers, who are sitting here at the side, that would like to purchase 3 acres from me to subdivide into a 2-acre parcel for themselves and a 1-acre parcel for their son Chris Demers and his family. Carrie and Terry would like to build a single-family residential home on their lot, and Chris would like to build a single-family residential home on his lot. These 2 homes would be adjacent to the Mayo's 2 homes, with the exception of a driveway running in between, which I would then add back to my acreage for use as access to my property from the north side of Pat O'Brien Road. Please see the pictures of the Mayo's homes on pages 1 of 2 of the packet I just gave you. Because new zoning laws now require new homes to be built on a minimum 5-acre lot, we are requesting a zoning change for this property. Although a 5-acre minimum lot for new construction homes may make sense in other areas of St. Tammany Parish, we do not believe that it makes sense for property on Pat O'Brien Road. Pat O'Brien Road is 1.7 miles long with approximately 30 homes on it. Many of these homes are built on smaller lots and are very close to the road, and many are older homes. The 2 nearby intersecting streets, Pine Hollow Road and Tony Road, have homes of similar size and age to Pat O'Brien. Please see your packet of information for pictures of homes on Pat O'Brien, Pine Hollow, and Tony Road. I've also included Google Earth images of some of the properties directly adjacent or close to the subject property that I would like to have rezoned. Many do not conform to the current 5-acre zoning, with the smallest being a 0.5-acre parcel directly across the street. As you can see by the pictures, most of the homes, even on larger lots, are built close to the road. I did some research, and I found that in looking up tax records and so forth, 10 homes on Pat O'Brien they're not over or meet the 5-acre minimum. That's 1/3 of the 30 homes that are on Pat O'Brien. Tony Road has 8, which don't make 5 acres, and Pine Hollow has 5. We feel as though the homes that the Demers will build will be in keeping with the rest of Pat O'Brien Road and will do nothing but increase the value of the homes surrounding it. There's actually a picture of the home that they want to build on the last page of that packet that I gave you. They are more than willing to build their homes far enough off the road and keep enough trees and foliage so that their homes will be visually hidden to passing cars. The Demers are upstanding citizens of St. Tammany Parish for more than 19 years. Terry previously volunteered for Meals on Wheels and the North Shore Food Bank, currently volunteers for Louisiana Transport Rescue and I-10 Corridor Rescue Transport. Carrie is a retired employee of the state of Louisiana. Chris, their son, is self-employed, and his wife, Summer, is employed by Dr. Grieshaber with Grieshaber Dermatology. Chris and Summer have 3 boys, 2 12-year-old twins, and a 1-year-old toddler. All are members of Covington Presbyterian Church, where Terry serves as an elder. They will be a welcome addition to the neighborhood and will help to maintain the integrity of the area. Because of these reasons, we respectfully ask that you approve our request for a zoning change for this property from A1 to A2. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, I don't have any cards here on anyone that wishes to speak. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak in favor of this zoning change?
I do have 3 of my neighbors that surprised me that showed up in the back of the room.
If they would like to speak, now's the time. And that was speaking in favor of this zoning change.
All in favor? Yes.
Okay.
I'm being a little bashful.
All right. Anyone, excuse me, anyone want to speak against this zoning change? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, anybody wish to speak? Commissioner Reshord.
Yes, sir. Quick question for you. I'm looking at the survey here. tracks A, B, C, and D, that's your whole property, correct?
A and B have been sold.
You've
to the
sold, right.
Mayos
And C, you're proposing a zoning change,
to subdivide that parcel.
and you're gonna subdivide it into,
3 pieces, 2 parcels, one 2 acre, the other is 1 acre, and the third part, I'm gonna reattach back to my property as an access to the north part of.
exactly how I've drawn it, so I heard you correctly. Our challenge typically is when we try to put more intense zoning in an area that somebody could even subdivide it further, next thing you know, we've got 5 lots there. And that's the challenge when we agree to make these types of changes. But you seem to be the type of person that's gonna do what you say you're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Rushore to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Also, I'd like to support that by seconding the motion, the motion, and to say that with these residents here to support it and to support you.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
support you. Do the second. I second the motion.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? We had a motion and a second. Please vote.
Nine yeas, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? Do I hear anything else?
I move to adjourn. Second.
Thank y'all.